Welcome back. Good morning, Britain. Now, around 1,900 workers at a container port in Felixstowe are on strike for a second day in a dispute over pay.
Staff there have said that they won't return to work until next Monday after members of the Unite union voted down a pay increase. Now, the Port of Felixstowe is the UK's busiest port, handling around 48% of the UK's container trade. That means it handles household items like fridges, freezers, ovens, that sort of thing.
Right, now the latest figures show in 2020 the port made £61 million in pre-tax profits.
Management have offered dock workers a pay increase of over 8% this year, which they say is a fair offer. In comparison, rail strikers have been offered an 8% pay rise, but over 2 years, which has also been rejected.
Miles Hubbard is the regional officer for Unite, the union, and he joins us now live from the picket line. Miles, there you are on the picket line. Just to be clear, the offer that's on the table is 7.5%. Now, two-thirds, it seems, of your regular, those are the people that have actually got regular jobs there, seem to want to accept that, but the people who are on contracts don't. Given two-thirds of those people are saying, right, 7.5 is enough for us, why aren't you going back to work?
No, you've got that wrong. The people who have accepted it are another branch, and they are the clerical and managerial branch. They're perfectly within their rights to accept it, but the distinction is actually between the manual workers, i.e. the dockers, who are the people you see here, the 1,900 dockers, and the managers and clerical workers. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason they were offered 7.5%, by the way, was because the dockers had got it up to that, although they're not yet satisfied with it. But they're perfectly entitled to accept it. We're a democratic union and we have no issue with that. The issue is that our workforce here are clear that they will not accept that, and that's where we are today.
Well, what's the ultimate aim? What are you actually asking for? Because a negotiation, you know, has to have some sort of mission at its heart. Now, nobody was expecting inflation to be at 10.1%. That would be difficult and could cost your members' jobs. At the same time, given the nature of the goods that come into your port, ultimately, if it takes longer for the stuff to come in, it's going to mean that prices go up for the average consumer, and you're going to hurt a lot of the people who are your very own members. So what is a satisfactory offer as far as you're concerned?
Well, your assertion that it would cost our members' jobs doesn't make any sense at all. This is a company which is absolutely awash in profits. It's made about 200 million over the last 2 years. And you quoted the 2020 figure of £61 million. If they paid the 10% settlement in full out of that, which they've made more than that in the last 2 years, but just suppose that 61 million as a figure, that would still leave, I think, 47 million in profits.
Well, Miles Hubbard, can I help you out? Because I don't think it's fair. Sorry to talk over you. Actually going to help you out here. I think it's important, just to be clear, it seems to me that the profits were £240 million for the company that has a controlling interest. Now, what I want to know is the extent to which you've had any kind of political support. Your local MP, I think it's Teresa Coffey, if I'm not mistaken, Conservative, has been assiduously silent on the issue, said nothing in support of many people who live in her constituency. And I want to know, as a member of the RMT, Unite, a union that's traditionally had strong ties with the Labour Party, as far as you're concerned, has the Labour Party done enough to come and stand shoulder to shoulder with you to say, look, 240 million in profits, we're not asking for much, inflation is at 10.1%, why aren't you supporting us? Do you think that Unite Union has had the political support, especially from the Labour Party, that you fund?
Well, thanks for letting me know that Teresa Coffey won't be supporting us. I'm sure my colleagues here will be surprised at that. But in terms of Labour Party support, we will have some Labour MPs coming down to the picket line, I'm confident, in the course of the week.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you tell us who?
There's no obligation.
I know you're in the middle of an answer, and I'm going to get into trouble for interrupting you. The reason I ask you is because Sir Keir Starmer said that politicians shouldn't be on the picket line. So, you know, names would be useful. I'm sure he'd want to know them.
I'll give you names as we get them in the course of the week. But this is not a political struggle. This is a struggle between the employees of the Port of Felixstowe and the company.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, should we talk to the man you need answers from there? We can speak to Paul Davey, who's a spokesperson at the Port of Felixstowe. I'm hoping you could hear some of what Miles Hubbard was saying there, Paul. Good morning to you. Whatever the figure is, in fact, you could maybe clear it up for us. What is the profit of Hutchinson Port Holdings Trust, which owns the Port of Felixstowe there, or at least has a controlling share in it? What was their profit?
Well, the profit made by the Port of Felixstowe for the last 2 years was not the 250 million that United have been saying. The profit from the last 2 years from the Port of Felixstowe is 98 million. And you or anybody else can look at that. The accounts are filed with Companies House. You can find them in about 30 seconds on Google.
I understand that, but where's your corporate responsibility here? You've got workers who are being offered a 7.5% increase against a backdrop of a rising price of living of 10.1%. Why not sort of, as a corporate officer, say, you know what, times are hard, let's look at that profit. I understand we've got an obligation to our shareholders, but why not, as it were, spread some of that money in a way which more generously gifts or gives the money to people who are working pretty hard. Those are the dockers out there every day ensuring the average people up and down the country have got the goods that they need.
They do work very hard, and it's because we're profitable that we pay them very well. The average pay here for the people involved in this dispute is about £43,000 per year. It's 40% above the national average. The offer that we've made to them is worth between 8.1% and 9.6% this year in their pockets, in actual cash terms. So that's very close to 10%. Anyway, and they said earlier that, you know, they're a democratic union, but they haven't put this offer to their members. The offer when the members voted for strike action was 5%.
Well, we'll get a response to that
because on since the beginning of the year, and inflation was much lower.
Yeah. OK, let's just get a response from that. But we've got more questions for you, Paul. So stay where you are, Miles. What's your response to that? That you haven't put the pay offer to your members? That's the accusation that you've just heard very clearly there.
Right. I'll come back to that in 1 second. Can I just put this £43,000 figure to rest once? Yeah. I mean, this is constantly being banded about, and we've been talking to people around here. You can see how many of them there are, to try and get a gauge on that. Nobody here is earning anything like that unless they're working masses of overtime.
What is the average wage then of the strikers today? Yeah.
Well, much lower, in the 30s.
Right. OK.
And in fact, some people are actually on benefits who work at the Port of Felixstowe.
OK, just answer quickly.
So that will give you an idea of the.
Sorry to interrupt, because we're just slightly... I know you've both got places to be, both of our guests today. Answer quickly the question about the allegation that you haven't put the pay offer to your members fully.
Right. There is no obligation on us to put every single movement of a negotiation to a ballot. It would be ridiculous.
Fine.
And we know, because we talk to our members all the time, that it would not be accepted, and it's nowhere near.
All right, so you're saying you don't need to put it to a ballot.
What we're saying to the company is come back. We want to ballot when we get the right offer. And when we do that, we will ballot. And we want the company to come back to the table.
Let's just bring in Paul Davey.
They know very well how easily this can be solved.
All right, I'm so sorry for having to talk over you. Paul Davey, they don't have to put it to every squeak and every turn in this negotiation to their members, they're saying, by law. Can I just ask you what the disruption is going to be, do you believe, over the next... well, it's an 8-day strike. I mean, the RMT have been striking for 1 day here and there, but this is an 8-day consecutive one. What does that mean for the average person who's waiting for a delivery of something?
Yep. Just before that, just to put to bed the average pay, I mentioned earlier our accounts are online, they're in Companies House. Anyone can go on those. If they look at the accounts, it shows what we pay in wages. It shows that's £119 million last year. It shows how many employees we've got, 2,500.
Yes, fine.
You can do the maths. People can do the maths themselves.
OK, the transparency is there on the numbers.
Right. It's half the profit you made last year, but sorry, do carry on.
Just about the disruption, I just think people at home might be wondering that this is a row between, you know, somebody they've never seen, like you, Paul, and then the unions there, but they want to know what this means. Is it going to be disruptive? All the goods can go to different ports. Does it really make much of a difference if this strike goes on for 8 days and then perhaps longer?
It will make a difference to some people. It'll make a difference to those who lose wages as a result of that. That's not just our employees who are losing wages. There's a lot of haulage firms around Felixstowe here and people who rely upon the port who will lose money as a result of this strike. For consumers, though, and you know, the normal people around the country, I don't think they'll see such a big impact. Most of what we handle, most of the containers you can see behind me, are coming from the Far East. They're on long supply chains. It's 8 to 12 weeks supply chain. Many have been brought forwards for early delivery. Some will be delayed for later delivery. And the more time-sensitive goods and the goods coming on the shorter sea routes in Europe, they have many more choices of ports they can use. So I don't think it will be an impact, but not massive. OK,
so you're willing to stick at 8%, are you? Is there, what's the next stage of this, then, during these 8 days, after these 8 days? How long are you willing to stick it out for?
Well, we've said all along that we would meet the union. When we last met them, sort of Thursday before last, so 10, 11 days ago, at the end of that, we said we would meet again. ACAS said they would facilitate another meeting, but it was the union that declined to meet again. We said to them quite clearly, if they suspend the strike, give us time to find a resolution. We're happy to sit down and try and find that resolution.
Right. Well, keep an eye on this. Thanks very much.
It's a very familiar pattern, isn't it, this conversation now between two sides. Thanks
really
to Miles as well for joining us live from the picket line this morning. Thanks so much to both of you.
It'll be interesting to see if they don't ballot the workers, the extent to which the courts are going to get involved here as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because you were querying that this morning. Where you were saying, can they not? Are they allowed to not put each pay offer to their members?
Well, not each, but at some point.
But at some point they have to.
They have to be balloted.
Interesting.